Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Lynn Slosky from ANAD. And if you hold on just one second, we're letting one more person into our webinar. It looks like all of you are still joining too. Okay. All right. So. Okay. I'll just wait one more second. All right, well, maybe we can go ahead and get started. I very much apologize for the delay. We were having some technical difficulties in the form of, we were actually leading a support group in this Zoom account at the same time as trying to start this webinar. And so we realized we needed to separate the two. And so we apologize for this starting a little late. All right, so Jiva has joined us. Excellent. So Jiva, if you want to just come on your video for a second and I can quickly introduce all of us. There she is. Sorry about that, Jiva. So many technical difficulties all at once. Okay, well, we're all here. So hi to everyone who has been able to join us. Again, I'm Lynn Slosky. I'm the Executive Director for ANAD, and we're so delighted to be able to spend some time with Delta Phi Epsilon members this evening. I have here with me Jiva Wilkerson is our Program Director for ANAD. Lily Jansen is our Program Coordinator for ANAD. And before we get started on the presentation, I first want to turn it over to Leah Connolly from Delta Phi Epsilon headquarters. So Leah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And again, like Lynn said, I'm Leah Connolly. I am the coordinator of community programs at DPhiE's headquarters. I may be familiar if you've been part of the International Pearl Program series. So thank you for returning to our programs. So I'd like to take a minute to welcome you all to this evening's program. It is hosted by ANAD and DPhiE IHQ. I know you're all probably busy with midterms, but thank you so much for taking the time to attend this program. As you know, ANAD is one of DPhiE's 3 philanthropic organizations that it supports with our fundraisers and our education. So as a member of DPhiE, it is important for you to be aware of ANAD's important mission, and Lynn and her team were gracious enough to join us this evening to share that with all of you. So please join me in welcoming them in your own silent claps. So I will turn it over to Lynn and her team.
Thank you so much, Leah. We're really delighted to have some time to be with you all tonight. So I believe Angelo, by the way, Angelo is this ANAD flame that you all see right now. He's our outreach coordinator, and he's handling all the tech this evening. So Angelo, do you want to kick off with our video? And here we go. It might be a friend, a loved one, a coworker, or maybe it's you.
At least 30 million Americans are suffering from an eating disorder, a type of mental illness that left untreated can cause life-threatening mental and physical problems.
An eating disorder like anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating is one of the deadliest mental illnesses in the United States.
Nearly every hour in the U.S., someone dies due to complications related to an eating disorder.
But there is hope. Recovery is possible.
ANAD is here to help.
ANAD is a leading nonprofit in the U.S. that provides free peer support for anyone struggling with an eating disorder, regardless of age, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, or background.
Our nationwide network of volunteers understand firsthand the ups and downs of the recovery journey.
Because they too have lived the experience of an eating disorder.
ANAD empowers volunteers to help others through their own recovery.
Learn more at anad.org.
So nice to see our team in that video and just provide a little snapshot of what we at ANAD do, our so-called elevator speech, so that if anyone out in the community is asking you, what is ANAD? feel free to ask us for that video script, and you can just recite that for them. So, all right, so I'm going to kick off the presentation. Leah, you're welcome to stop your video at any point if you feel like it. Otherwise, whatever your preference is fine. So, cool. And then the rest of you, Leah, Lily, and Jiva will probably go off camera, and they'll be back later on in the presentation. So, so tonight we are going to talk about some eating disorder realities, kind of go through some of the statistics nationwide and specifically for college students. We're also going to describe the main types of eating disorders. Of course, there are so many and so many variations, but we'll cover just the main types, the most prevalent types, as well as the contributing factors that can lead to an eating disorder for an individual. The impact of sociocultural messages, and we'll explain what we mean by that in a little bit. How to talk to someone who you think might have an eating disorder, and how to tell if you or a friend might actually have one. And then how ANAD can help if you are concerned about yourself or a friend. And finally, how you all can get involved with our mission to help anyone struggling with an eating disorder. We'll close out with some Q&A. Feel free at any point to type some questions in the chat box or the Q&A box. Either way, I will be looking at those, and towards the end of the program, we'll go through some of those questions and have some discussion. So next slide. All right, so some eating disorder realities. Unfortunately, eating disorders really are very serious, life-threatening mental illness. And they truly are a mental illness. We'll get into that a little more in a little bit. But they can be very life-threatening. In fact, they have the second highest mortality rate of any mental illness, second only to opioid addiction. And nearly every hour, someone dies as a direct result of an eating disorder. And in this country alone, there are an estimated 30 million people who suffer from an eating disorder. What follows are some statistics about college students, so you can take a look at some of those numbers. The point being that eating disorders are unfortunately rather prevalent at the college level, and especially amongst certain subsets of the population. So with that, I'm going to turn it over next to Jiva, who is going to get into a little bit why eating disorders develop. Oh, first, the main types of eating disorders and then why they develop. All right, so Jiva, take it away.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, so you might be saying, what is an eating disorder, right? So according to the American Psychiatric Association, eating disorders are mental illnesses in which people experience severe disturbances in their eating behaviors and related thoughts and emotions. Okay, so people with eating disorders typically become preoccupied with food and or their body weight, okay? Now, we're going to talk about 4 of the main types of eating disorders. These are the most common ones, but there are tons more, okay? So we're going to start with anorexia nervosa, otherwise known as anorexia. And that's when someone's not getting enough calories, and they're also they have a significantly low body weight. Now, someone could also have anorexia, we call that atypical anorexia, where they're still not getting enough calories, but they also do not have a significantly low body weight. They might have an average body weight. And in fact, the majority of people with eating disorders are not underweight at all. The next type of eating disorder we're going to go through is bulimia nervosa, which is often called bulimia. And that's when someone has recurrent binge eating episodes with compensatory behavior. And what we mean by that is, excuse me, they might eat more rapidly. I'm sorry, skipping ahead. They might exhibit behaviors such as fasting, self-induced vomiting, excessive exercise, or use of laxatives, diuretics, or other medications. And then we have binge eating disorder. And with binge eating disorder, that's defined by recurrent episodes of binge eating. And when we say binge eating, what we mean is someone might eat much more rapidly than normal. They might eat until they feel uncomfortably full. They might eat large amounts of food when they're not feeling physically hungry. They might eat alone because of the embarrassment over how much they have ate and often feel disgusted with themselves, depressed, or very guilty after they eat. Now, like I said, these are four of the most common, but there are tons of other eating disorders, and there are also very different combinations of these different types of eating disorders that can exist in one person. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the contributing factors to developing an eating disorder. So for many people, an eating disorder is a coping mechanism used to help them deal with an uncomfortable or unsafe environment, or to help them regain a sense of control, okay? Like we said, this is a mental illness. And Lynn just showed us statistics that prove that eating disorders affect people from all walks of life, regardless of gender identity, age, race, income, etc. So you might be wondering then, okay, well, why do some people get eating disorders while others do not? And we're going to talk about those right now. So you see them listed here. Someone can actually be genetically predisposed to develop an eating disorder. So science has actually shown that if you have a family history of eating disorder, you're more susceptible to developing an eating disorder yourself. Also, someone could be genetically predisposed to developing anxiety, depression, or obsessive compulsive disorder, or other illnesses. And those illnesses have been directly connected to eating disorders as well. Also, someone could have experienced a specific or a series of traumas such as bullying or abuse, which makes them more susceptible. And then also, someone may develop an eating disorder due to negative feelings that could have resulted from the physical changes that occurred during puberty. So these are some of the contributing factors to why some people develop eating disorders. Next slide, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about society and society's preoccupation with physical appearance. So like I said, an eating disorder is often a coping mechanism to help people deal with uncomfortable or unsafe environments, or to help them just regain a sense of control. But so we know it's not always about the food and weight, or this desire to control your weight. But there does seem to be a preoccupation with physical appearance in today's world. And this could be dangerous for someone that is predisposed to an eating disorder. Next slide, please. So, this preoccupation with physical appearance is due in part to the sociocultural messages that we receive every day. And these messages are messages we see in mainstream media, such as TV, movies, social media, commercials, social media, social media, social media. Can't say that enough. And sociocultural messages about how our bodies are supposed to look are everywhere, okay? So these messages can be explicit, such as the things we see in social media, like we see some of the memes up here on the screen, or implicit, like the size of a waiting room chair, which I've heard plenty of people say are just too small for the average person. But the truth is, bodies come in all shapes and sizes, and there is no quote unquote ideal body type. Now, someone who is predisposed to developing an eating disorder, like I said before, is at a higher risk, or is at risk to be negatively impacted by these messages. And those with eating disorders are often preoccupied with how they look. And these socio-cultural messages about ideal bodies can have an influence on them to make them go to extremes to try to obtain this ideal body. It also can mislead them and lead them to judge their own self-worth by their appearance, and it may even distort their perceptions of how they see their own bodies. Next slide, please. All right, diet culture. I'm sure you've probably heard this term before. Well, we live in a diet culture that focuses on and values weight, shape, size over well-being. So once again, when you value weight, shape, and size over your own well-being, that can be extremely harmful. And that's what we say is our diet culture that we live in. And it perpetuates a belief that the loss of weight is directly related to increased health. And that's just absolutely not true. diet culture is so pervasive that the total US weight loss market, we're talking about an industry, grew an estimated 4.1% in 2018. That went from $69.8 billion to $72.7 billion. And the total market is forecasted to grow 2.6% annually through 2023. Now, I have a suspicion that there might be a greater increase with the influx of COVID-19, with so many people being in all the time, and all you see on social media is people, memes and different posts about how much weight they've gained through the pandemic. And so I have a suspicion that once we're able to get out, that we're probably going to see an increase in diet advertisements, diet clothing, gym memberships, etc. Once again, diet culture really influencing us and trying to get us back in because people are now feeling self-conscious about their bodies. And it's not just adults that are being affected by these growing trends. I mean, like you see here in the statistic, 35 to 57% of adolescent girls engage in crash dieting, fasting, self-induced vomiting, diet pills, or laxatives. Now, I'm not saying that everyone will develop an eating disorder due to these sociocultural messages. No, not everyone will develop an eating disorder because of this. But given these messages, it might make sense that someone is exhibiting concerning behavior. And so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lily, and she's going to explore how to talk to someone who you think might have an eating disorder. I'll turn it over to you now, Lily.
Thank you, Jiva. As she mentioned, you may be wondering about how to talk to someone in your life whose behaviors are concerning you. And if you are worried about a sister or one of your friends' focus on their body image, eating habits, or exercise, it's good to talk to them with the goal of connecting them to professional help. Now, you may be wondering about where to get started. Before talking to them, it can be smart to start by gathering your thoughts about the situation, what you've seen. Think to yourself, what behaviors have you observed in your friend or loved one that are causing you to be concerned about them? And when you end up approaching your friend, remain calm and express your concern coming from a place of love. Avoid labeling them with having an eating disorder and instead share specific examples of what you are concerned about. For example, you might say to a friend, I noticed you didn't hang out with us last night because you said you wanted to exercise instead, and it seemed really important to you that you had to go exercise. And then listen to their response with empathy and care and respond accordingly. And, if a person denies what you're saying, you can let them know that you only brought it up out of concern for their well-being and let them go at it with their own journey. And be there to provide resources to your friend, like, for example, ANAD's helpline. Next slide, please. As we've discussed already tonight, we know that these issues are present on college campuses, and you're probably thinking about people in your circles who may be facing these challenges. For those who may be wondering if they themselves have an eating disorder, or if someone in their lives does, can ask themselves the question, how much time do you spend thinking about food, weight, and/or your body image? By looking at eating disorders this way, we put them on a spectrum rather than being a yes or no question. If you spend a significant amount of time thinking about these thoughts or having these concerns to the point where they interfere with your happiness or well-being, then it's never a bad idea, and we always encourage people to consider reaching out for help. Next slide, please. And for those who are looking for help, ANAD can always be a great place to start. As we mentioned in the video, we provide free peer support and a safe space to anyone who is in recovery from an eating disorder, regardless of their age, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, or background. Our volunteers come from all over the nation because they feel passionately about helping those who face eating disorders and are inspired to give back based on their own journeys. That's where ANAD comes in. We provide volunteers with the resources to help others on their journeys with self-care and practical tools for living a healthy life that complements a person's professional treatment on their journey to recovery. Next slide, please. And you might be wondering, what does this support look like? So here at ANAD, the three main support services that we offer are our helpline, our support groups, and our mentorship program. People's first interaction with ANAD can often be our helpline. Callers will will call the helpline at all stages in recovery looking for help, emotional support, and to be connected and/or treatment. And we provide those referrals directly for them. Our support groups are communities where people can come together and provide support to one another. It allows people the chance to share their own experiences and challenges, ask others for advice who are facing similar situations, and it is a great resource for both people who are new to their recovery and those looking to have a manageable way to stay accountable with their recovery. And lastly, our mentorship program is for people who are currently seeking professional treatment and are actively trying to recover from an eating disorder. In this program, we pair people who are new to recovery with those who are fully recovered from an eating disorder and have found real success in their recovery. And we provide them a program in which to connect, and the mentor, mentors the mentee in order to have the mentee have successful recovery. Next slide, please. And now for the most important part, why we're all here tonight, how all of you in DeFi can get involved. We're really excited. Obviously, as it says here on the slide, we hope that we've raised some awareness for you all about how to spot eating disorders in your friends, loved ones, and how to best communicate with them in order to help them or help yourself. But we're also really excited to announce tonight that we have posted a new ANAD Week guide. And for those of you who have participated in the planning of ANAD Weeks in years past, we have an updated guide for you all with virtual-oriented event suggestions now available on our website. And we understand how difficult it can be to navigate sorority life and Panhellenic life under the new COVID-19 parameters, and we are here to support you in creating events safely this year. If you have any questions about accessing the guide or creating virtual fundraisers, we are absolutely here to help. And as you also see on the slide, it says, you could also volunteer for our helpline and some of our other opportunities. So if that would be of interest to you, please feel free to reach out to us here with any of your questions, and we'd love to have some of you DeFi sisters as volunteers, because we greatly appreciate the work that you all have done to make what the work ANAD does possible. And so now I will turn it back over to Lynn for the Q&A.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Lily. All right. Awesome. So hopefully you all have gained a little bit more understanding about eating disorders, why it's so important to pay attention to them because they can be so deadly, how to potentially spot one because of certain genetic factors, which Jiva went through, how the media does not do us any favors when it comes to people who are predisposed to developing an eating disorder. And how we can all work together to support each other and through ANAD and through your own efforts, really try to combat the feeling that that all hope is lost, because truly recovery is possible. We've been saying that for years. Hopefully a lot of you members have been hearing that for years. And we truly do believe it because we've seen it. We've seen it through our support groups and our mentorship. So we definitely encourage you to get involved if you'd like to learn more. Let's see, can you advance the slide, Angelo? Sorry, I should have had you do that before. Oh yeah, so well, first, yes, thank you. And if you have, that's okay, Angelo. You can just go to that one, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so yes, thank you so much. We'll now take some questions. So if anyone has some questions about anything that we've discussed or presented tonight, we're happy to answer. Maybe Lily and Jiva can come back on real quick, because while we're waiting for some questions to pop up, I thought the three of us could have a little bit of a discussion that might resonate with some of the members on tonight, which is a discussion about recovery and what that means, and is it possible? Because that is a question that we get a lot, particularly from college students who are kind of in the midst of it and just haven't had as much life experience to know that it's possible to overcome something compared to someone who is older and has maybe been through a lot of hardship or et cetera. So Lily, how about you give an answer first? What is recovery to you, and is it possible?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's of course absolutely possible, and I think that recovery can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people depending on their experiences. I know for me personally, it just means the freedom to not have to focus on my body or a negative relationship with food, and allowing myself that mental headspace to be free. And speaking to what you said, Lynn, about, you know, being in college and how I'm a recent graduate of college myself, and I think that, you know, it can feel really hard while you are in college and when you're at your university and in kind of the really fast pace in which college unfolds. And I'm sure it feels different today given the pandemic, but it can feel really hard to take time for yourself and really even evaluate where you're at, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I think one of the things recovery means, especially when we're talking about a college age population, is taking the time to really check in with yourself and be honest with yourself about how you're doing. And even if you feel like you might not have the time to deal with how you're doing at a current moment, really putting yourself first, you know, above your schoolwork, above your friends, above, you know, as a former Panhellenic woman, above the responsibilities of your sorority, and really taking that time to get the help you need. And especially at a time like college when so many resources are on your campus, you know, whether that be your campus's counseling services or your health and wellness office. You know, there are a lot of resources that now, being out of college, I wish I had taken more advantage of.
Yeah, that's powerful. Right. Yeah. Thanks, Lily. Jiva, how about you? What is recovery to you, and is it possible?
Yes, I want to just, Lily's answer was so great. So let me see if I can
Yeah,
add to that. Yeah, definitely recovery is possible. I have personal experience as someone who has recovered from an eating disorder myself. And the only thing I would add to that is, you know, like I said during the presentation, you know, the eating disorder is often a symptom of something else. It's usually a coping mechanism that people use, those eating disorder behaviors, whether that be restricting or binging and purging. Those are usually behaviors people use when they're upset or there's something else is going on. It's an indicator that something else is going on. And I will say that that voice will, for a lot of people, it stays in your head. You still hear that voice that tells you that that eating disorder is still there. But the difference for me now as a recovered person is that I don't listen to that voice and I don't act on that voice. And usually when I hear that voice, it's an alarm saying, oh, what else is going on with you? Are you really upset because maybe you're anxious about the presentation you're doing tonight? Are you anxious because you just started dating someone new and you really like them and you hope they like you too? Are you upset because your parents are getting your nerves again? Like, I'm sure everyone can relate to those things. So then when I hear that, I say, oh, okay, you know, I don't listen to that voice and don't act on those behaviors, but I use that as an alarm to let me know that I need to take care of myself, like Lily was saying, prioritize myself and really get to the root of what's going on with me emotionally. And that's how I know I'm recovered, because I now have those healthy coping skills, such as reaching out to a friend or drawing, going for a walk, deep breathing, practicing yoga, something to really take care of myself as opposed to using a negative behavior.
Yeah, so well said, both of you. And I truly don't have anything else to add. I might just restate it because it is so important to emphasize that recovery is possible. People who are in the midst of an eating disorder can feel completely hopeless that they will ever be able to get through the eating disorder behaviors that they have come to rely on, as Jiva says, to cope with whatever stresses they are dealing with in the rest of their life. It can feel very hopeless. And that's why, not to toot our own horn, but that's why organizations like ours are so important to get involved with, to feel a sense of community, to so that one isn't suffering alone, and one isn't isolated in their struggles with their eating disorder, because while everyone has different reasons for developing an eating disorder, there are so many things that we can relate to. and really share and encourage. And I myself am a recovery mentor through ANAD, as well as a support group leader. And it is so gratifying to be able to help someone else understand that they are not alone, that what they're feeling is completely normal, and they will be able to get through it. And that they can, to some extent, see the other side by talking with someone else in our support groups or having a relationship with one of our recovery mentors. So I just want to emphasize that it can be a very deep, dark place, and it is possible to get out of it. And organizations like ours, the treatment centers that our helpline will help connect you to, will help you or your friends or someone in your family feel like that is possible. All right, so we do have a question from an attendee asking about the mentorship program, if they want to get involved as a mentor, I assume, this person is a recovered sister of Delta Phi. If so, what steps should we take? So Lily or Jiva?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lily, you want to take it?
Sure. Well, first of all, we would obviously love to have any recovered sisters of D-Phi become volunteers with our organization. Not only your connection to D-Phi and ANAD would be very special, but obviously the what you could give back to our participants. In terms of specifically the mentorship program, we will be launching a application, relaunching, I should say, very soon. And so if you are interested in becoming aware of when that application is ready in the next few weeks, you could first email me at my email on the screen, and I'd be happy to set that up for you. But also, if you go to our website and check out the Become a Mentor page, there is an interest form that you could fill out at any time, where we will then send you the application as soon as it becomes available. But again, if you have any questions or just want to, speak to someone directly, you can go ahead and email me at this email.
Yeah, great. Very good. And speaking of our website, I thought maybe we could do a quick screen share of our new ANAD Week guide, which is available on our website. We just posted it yesterday. Lily actually has been working so hard on this. We had an intern this summer who was also part of the Greek system, as well as Lily, and so they designed this really cool new guide, and we're so excited to actually release it tonight, and it is on our website. So maybe Angelo, you can just do a quick like a slow run through so people can kind of get a sense for it. Lily pointed out that we did gear it as much as possible towards virtual awareness and fundraising events, because we know that that's the reality we're dealing with. So you'll see kind of at the bottom of each of these event descriptions is a suggestion on how to offer the event virtually. One of my favorite events is this Beautiful show. Oh, can you go back real quick, Angelo? Yeah, this Beautiful show, which is like a showcase your skills event. So instead of a beauty pageant, it's a chance for everyone to show off their great skills and talents. And then, yeah, if you could advance the guide one more time, Angelo. One of our closing event suggestions is this really beautiful water lantern event that probably would be best to do in person, and hopefully that'll be possible someday, because we would love to see pictures of that happening. So, and then we also included in this new ANAD Week guide a social media campaign full of new ideas for themes. And then Angelo, our outreach coordinator, came up with some really cool graphics that you'll be able to use and post on social media throughout your ANAD Week. So, so definitely reach out to Lily if you have more questions about what is this ANAD Week, I don't understand. We will definitely guide you through what it all means. But we are just so grateful for your interest in learning more about eating disorders, and your involvement with our organization. Feel free to follow up about volunteering, about doing some awareness spreading events, and any other ways you can think of to get involved. We love volunteers. So I don't see any other questions. So I think we might just close out with this. Leah, if you have anything else to say, you're welcome to do so now, but otherwise we'll close up.
I'll just read. I'm sorry, I had my headphones in. I didn't realize if you could hear me or not, but I would like to thank everybody again so much for being here this evening and sharing this experience with ANAD and your other sisters. While you might not be able to see them, know that we are all here and we are all together virtually. So thank you all again. And if you have questions, certainly reach out to Lily about ANAD, or if you have any questions about DeFi and our programs, you can reach out to me. I will drop my email in the chat here quickly, but otherwise, I hope you all have a lovely Wednesday evening.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Leah. Thank you to everyone at Delta Phi Epsilon headquarters and all of the members who are here tonight. Thank you to the ANAD staff. It's such a great team. It's such a pleasure working for ANAD and working with all of you in the community. So have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Hi, everyone.